But there was nothing ever got developed.
Right.
We never discussed an idea. We did, as everybody knows, Kevin's a huge Star Wars fan.
Kathleen Kennedy's controversial and disastrous reign over Disney's Star Wars is finally coming to an end. After years of divisive decisions, failed projects, and a fan base that's more frustrated than ever, Disney could be gearing up for a major shakeup. But here's the real shocker. Rumors are swirling that George Lucas himself might be coming back to take control. Yes, the man who created Star Wars could be stepping in to undo the damage. Is Disney finally listening to fans? Is this the end of Kennedy's influence? Or is this just another corporate stunt to buy time?
A lot of those ideas that were in there sort of got lost, but that's the way it is. If you give it up, you give it up.
Since 2012, Kathleen Kennedy has been at the top of Lucasfilm, guiding the Star Wars franchise through highs, lows, and some seriously heated fan debates. But now, after more than a decade in charge, the longtime president of Lucasfilm is reportedly preparing to step down at the end of 2025. And let's be real, this isn't exactly a surprise to anyone paying attention. Apparently, Kennedy is planning to retire when her current contract wraps up, but as with all things in Hollywood, there's always another side to the story. Some sources say this is a done deal, while others claim it's nothing but speculation. Either way, it's clear that her time as the head of Lucasfilm is coming to an end, and Disney is making moves to ensure a smooth transition.
As the creator of Mara Jade,
Wait! I am not the creator of Mara Jade, and I want you to get out of this office right now.
I'm sorry, Zeb.
No way.
You brought
No
you brought it on yourself.
Kennedy's journey with Lucasfilm began in 2012 when she joined as co-chair alongside the legendary George Lucas. Shortly after, Disney swooped in, buying the company for $4 billion. Lucas stepped aside, and Kennedy was promoted to president, entrusted with the future of one of the most beloved franchises of all time. At first, things seemed promising. Star Wars was back. The Force Awakens was a massive success, raking in over $2 billion worldwide and reigniting excitement for the saga. But as the sequels continued, cracks began to form. The Last Jedi sparked one of the most divisive debates in modern fandom, and The Rise of Skywalker left many fans feeling like the trilogy had no real direction. Meanwhile, spin-off movies like Solo struggled at the box office, and soon enough, the once invincible Star Wars brand started looking vulnerable. Despite increasing criticism, Disney stood firmly behind Kennedy for years. The company protected her from the consequences of some, let's say, questionable creative choices that alienated large portions of the fan base. Under her leadership, Star Wars seemed to drift further away from the people who had supported it for decades. From clashing storytelling decisions to an overemphasis on political messaging, many longtime fans felt like they were no longer the priority.
Also stepping away a little bit and turning things over to Kathy Kennedy. And so what happened was Disney said, or Bob Iger said, if you really want to sell your company, if you're thinking about selling it, because we were talking about...
But here's the thing. Disney wasn't just blindly backing Kennedy out of loyalty. Hollywood is a game of corporate chess, and for a long time, Kennedy was still a valuable piece on the board. However, patience within Disney's upper ranks started to wear thin as project after project failed to meet expectations. The backlash reached a boiling point, and Disney CEO Bob Iger, who had a long and complicated relationship with Kennedy, found himself in a tricky spot. He needed to deal with this situation carefully. After all, firing the president of Lucasfilm isn't exactly a low-key move. Rumors about Kennedy's exit have been swirling for years, but recent events may have finally sealed the deal. The latest controversy is a creative decision involving a trans clone trooper, which sparked massive debate across social media, fan forums, and YouTube channels. Many viewed it as yet another example of Lucasfilm prioritizing identity politics over strong storytelling. This was just the latest in a long list of issues. Merchandise sales have been declining, engagement metrics for Star Wars content have been underwhelming, and Disney executives are finally starting to take these red flags seriously. While Kennedy is reportedly pushing for an extension until 2027, internal opposition to her leadership has never been stronger.
Yeah, and for all the movies that we did hear about today, we do know that there are some that have been shelved.
Well, they haven't been shelved.
Oh.
Most things haven't been shelved. Development is a complicated.
Bob Iger has been playing the long game, trying to manage Kennedy's exit without causing a massive industry-wide spectacle. It's a delicate balancing act as he doesn't want to anger powerful Hollywood allies. But he also can't ignore the reality that Star Wars needs a fresh direction. Sources suggest that Iger initially considered giving Kennedy a phased exit, possibly reducing her role before letting her go completely. However, with each passing controversy, that strategy has become less viable. There's growing pressure within Disney to take decisive action before more damage is done to the brand's reputation and profitability. Disney reportedly offered Kennedy a contract extension, but with a few major caveats: a reduced paycheck, significantly less influence, and most importantly, zero creative control over Star Wars. In other words, you can stay, but you're done calling the shots. Predictably, Kennedy wasn't thrilled with this proposal. For someone who has spent over a decade shaping the direction of one of the biggest franchises in history, being sidelined like this is a major blow. But at this point, it's clear that Disney wants her out sooner rather than later. The backlash to The Acolyte, one of Kennedy's passion projects, has only made matters worse. The show's Rotten Tomatoes user score fell to all-time lows, and comparisons to the infamous Star Wars holiday special were flying around the internet. Kennedy, who had long been a dominant force in the Star Wars universe, suddenly found herself with fewer allies than ever before.
You know, I made the decision to sell the company, the Star Wars. I made that decision because I looked at the future. I looked at the fact that I was going to have a baby. I looked at the fact that I was married. And I looked at the fact that I wanted to build a museum. And I looked at the fact that I wanted to make experimental films.
While Kennedy's departure isn't officially confirmed yet, all signs point to an exit by the end of 2025, if not sooner. The next big question is, who will replace her? Many fans are hoping for someone who can steer the franchise back to its roots, focusing on strong storytelling and compelling characters rather than divisive creative choices. Names like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been floated as potential successors, given their deep understanding of Star Wars lore and their success with The Mandalorian. Many fans are hoping for George Lucas to return and bring Star Wars back to its roots. Ever since selling Lucasfilm to Disney, he's stayed mostly in the background, but now there are rumors that he might be coming back. Roger Christian, a longtime friend and collaborator of Lucas, recently made a comment that got Star Wars fans buzzing. He said, "From what I hear, George will have something to do with it." That one line set off a wave of speculation. Christian isn't just some random inside. He's worked closely with Lucas for years. So if anyone has real information, it's him.
I noticed the last few movies that I'd made were costing the company a lot of money, and I didn't think that was fair to the people that worked there or the company.
To make things even more interesting, Christian also mentioned that Lucas has been spending more time on set lately. This suggests he's not just visiting, but actually involved in some way. Lucas has always struggled to stay away from Star Wars. Even during the original trilogy, when he let others direct The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he still had a strong influence behind the scenes. Lucas has also been open about his disappointment with how Disney handled Star Wars. He had a vision for the sequels, but Disney went in a different direction. While some projects like Rogue One and The Mandalorian were well received, many fans feel the sequel trilogy lacked a clear direction. If Lucas returns, even just as an advisor, it could help bring back the consistency and storytelling that made the original movies so special.